Hey everyone, welcome to JS News episode 2. Today with me is Łukasz. Hey Łukasz.
Hello everyone. Hello Piotrek. Nice to be here.
Yeah, so today we have a bunch of news to present to you. And firstly, we'll probably talk on about something which is the biggest news, which is don't Vercel Vercel. What they actually gave us, what magic happens under the bed doors of Vercel. So yeah, we'll talk about Vercel Ship and Next.js. What else?
I'm gonna talk about something that I do know, which is React Native and like React in general, and something that I don't know, which is Angular 16.
Yeah, I don't know about Angular a lot. I know a little bit because I used Angular before, but right now I think I'm not up to date to it. So it's very cool that we'll talk about it a little bit. Okay, so before I dive in, let's roll out the intro.
DevSpresso.
And we're back. Okay, so guys, first things first. Let's talk about something new, something big, before we'll talk about Vercel. Last week, we talked about the package called Partytown. And Partytown is built by a company called Builder.io, and Builder.io announced that actually they released their own full-stack web framework called Qwik. And yeah, like it is a big thing in because they want to make similar concept as, for example, Next.js has, Remix has, Gatsby has. So they try to mimic some of them, or sometimes make them better. So yeah, as an amazing user experience out of the box, what you will get mostly JavaScript streaming, so you'll have instant loading type of your components. Of course, there will be speculative code fetching, as far as I remember, that's the case. Lazy execution, so lazy loadings, the things, like don't put everything on the main thread. Optimized rendering time and data fetching, which is actually something standardized already. And as a great developer experience, you get something which is mostly familiar with you. So JSX as a standard to write your components, and other parts is middlewares and your components, etc., etc., etc. Like Qwik is big. They are prepared.
Yeah, actually, Qwik is quite similar in the way you write it to React, but it uses some other paradigms than React. And like you said, it has been released, but I think what's notable here is that this is a stable 1.0 release.
1.0
they
version,
actually have introduced it like 9 or 8 months ago in September, I think, 2022. And the big thing, like you mentioned, all of the low-level buzzwords like lazy loading, like JS streaming, but I think what they call it, like they encapsulate it in one word, which is called resumability, which is different from hydration. What they promise is that the first initial load of your web page will not have any JavaScript at all, and they will download the necessary JavaScript when it's necessary. So I think that's the promise there.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. If their promise will be fulfilled, maybe React may change in some future, maybe. But if Qwik released something, then we have like one of the biggest releases this week, and that is Next.js 14.4.
Yeah, I think that's the best, the biggest news this week is Next.js 13.4. Yeah.
So yeah, what you will get in the new release. The new release is mostly about making a stable version of UpRouter. And this UpRouter was actually announced in the beginning of this year, something like that, as far as I remember, in beta. I used it. It is super cool. It changed from version to version a little bit, introducing new stuff. So right now, UpRouter is stable. So you have React Server component, nested routes, nested layouts, simplified data fetching. What else? And right now you have what they call the server actions, which is in alpha. But if you actually host things on Vercel, then server actions mostly work. The idea
I think
is
the server actions actually look. I don't know what they are, but they look similar. They sound similar to what Remix proposes, so that it is possible to execute something with like HTML alone, with like built-in HTML and not JavaScript, right?
The idea is that you will mutate your data without zero.js, which is a remix concept, and that's the idea. Like actually, Next.js mimics remix.
Yeah, with layouts and with this now, I think it's a great thing that we have these two huge frameworks right now that try to fight for developers' attention, and both of those frameworks cooperate with React team directly to get the newest and greatest like server components and other new React 18 features.
Like I do love this release. I already used UpRouter, so I know what's going on, and I really love that it is already stable, and I love the fact that this UpRouter gives you the true hybrid in the app. You can really do some pages static, some pages server-side rendered, some even components can be just server-side rendered, but your page might be static. This is amazing how easy it is to make it happen only by just implementing React server components underneath. That's amazing. And due to that, if you're having that simplicity of new things, for example, like with server actions, there was a Vercel Ship, which means the biggest conference. I will just do the bridges. So on Vercel Ship, they announced Next.js 14.4, actually, but they actually released other things. And one of the biggest news is that on Vercel, on their cloud, they actually tried to advertise it as a front-end cloud. You'll have storage, which means you'll have databases. And those databases, you'll have 3 of them. And every single one of them is actually, they used other provider to make this work. So they have Vercel KV, which is key value database. Actually, it is Redis database powered by Upstash. And this is very cool because you will have very easy module. It will be a very easy module to install from Vercel. Use it as a Redis database with your Redis queries if you want to have it, and use it as a standard. But you'll have it on Vercel Cloud. Another database, if you want to have big database, you'll have Postgres, Vercel Postgres, like what you'll want to have. SQL is SQL. And that is also cool because you'll have actual SQL queries directly in your JavaScript code, and that's how you'll do it. But the Postgres SQL on Vercel is truly serverless. And it is truly serverless. So it is cool. And it's powered by another company, very big company called Neon. And they know very good things about Postgres. Another storage is Blob. If you want to stir some files there, you'll do it. It is just Cloudflare R2. The only limitation here one single limitation right now. The maximum upload size needs to be 4 megabytes, no more. That's
for all
for
of them,
now.
for all of the three different.
No, only for Blob.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Only for Blob. It's a little bit of limitation.
Seems slow. Seems low.
Seems low. It seems low. But we'll see. They said that probably it will increase by time. So we'll see where it goes. But next thing was that, hey, if you want to collaborate, there will be visual editing, and that's something that they already had. So you can have collaboration space on your web application, and you just put comments. Hey, this wants to be this wants to be that, this wants to be that. But with different CMS providers, they actually can connect to the CMS and make that editing of your content directly on this editing space, which is nice, because for content editor or for marketing guy, they will just open this preview of a web page, click on few things, change the text, enter, publish, end of story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It simplifies the workflow quite a bit.
Yeah, and another thing, and that probably is not surprising for you, Łukasz, Vercel spaces. Like, everyone is using code spaces or spaces. So this is the idea, the same. Like, then you have a space for your whole application, and every single developer can just pop in, make the change, go out. Yeah, it will be serverless function probably. And that is for most of the folks in terms of Vercel.
So I want to go back to databases. So I like two things. I like one thing, how they introduce 3 databases at the same time, 3 different paradigms, so that everyone can pick and choose what they like, and they can use the one they like the most.
Yep.
And a notable something to mention here is the key value database is actually something that Dino also introduced just a few days ago. They introduced their own, I think it's called Dino KV. Yeah.
This is the case. Yeah, they introduced that. I saw that. And funny part is, it works the same, mostly the same as Vercel KV. So that's interesting. That's very interesting. And we'll see which one will actually win. Probably Vercel's, but yeah, that's very cool. Just one more thing in terms of security, because they had also a little bit of security part of it on the conference. If you have an enterprise and you're using Vercel as an enterprise, they actually introduce Vercel firewall. Yeah, so you have like your DDoS protection and IP blocking.
Mm-hmm.
But what is cooler, in my opinion, is what they called Vercel Compute Engine or Secure Compute or something like that. The idea is that you can do secure connections to the part of your system. So, for example, if you're a big enterprise and you have your extra secured API, you can actually connect it to your Vercel application, like to your or Next.js hosted on Vercel, via Vercel Secure Compute, which means you'll have like middleware, something like that, and you'll start making those calls. That's cool. That seems interesting, and they already said that they worked with Azure, with AWS and GCP. If you want to have, and of course, if you have something on premise, you can just use it also. Very cool. I love it.
I really like how, because of the size of Vercel and like its impact, the Vercel actually cooperates with all of those different providers, right? So they work directly with, like, of course, React core team.
Yep.
But also they work with all of those cloud providers to like make sure that when they give us something, it's like already has some partnerships behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you cannot do that as a small startup. You have to have billions and billions of dollars in VC funding.
Yeah, and I do love how Vercel is actually advertising themselves. They are not going to be the only cloud. No, they are actually advertising. If you are a front-end developer, probably you want to host your application somewhere, which means we might be the good choice because we already support Next.js, Svelte, and other frameworks. But I know that probably you will need database. Boom, you have database. I know that you want to have probably some direct connection to the enterprise authentication. Boom, you have server compute, etc., etc. So it is a front-end cloud. That's what they call it, and it actually looks like it will be a front-end cloud.
It's a whole ecosystem, right?
Yeah,
it's not just one Next.js product. It's not just a framework. It's like a bunch of different things that's like go together nicely, and you have to pay for some of them, but you can pick and choose some.
And you have it feels like a little bit for me like Firebase. It feels a little bit like you pay for a set of functions and you use them, and you can actually add other stuff as you grow. That's perfect, and I love it. Like I already moved a lot of my applications to Vercel, so I already do a bunch of stuff there and pay them.
Okay. If you're done with Next.js, I think we can smoothly go to the next topic, which is React Canaries. So we all know that Next.js uses React under the hood, and React is developed at Meta, and until now, only some Meta teams could use the new experimental features of React, could experiment with React, and could contribute to how those new features are developed. So now, React wants to bring that to all developers, and they introduce Canary channel. So you can read all about it in their blog post. What they promise is that they will provide fixes to the Canary releases as well, and they are waiting for feedback and for support, and they're opening it. So yeah, I think it's great.
I also love it. Like if someone gives me an opportunity to use newer version of React, and if of course this will come in with using beta or RC or whatever alpha of Next.js, connect both of those and see what it can bring to your new application, what new things will come in and pop up in your head. That's perfect, and I love it. So because
actually, I think that's one of the reasons that they did it. I think they're mentioning the server components, that it was a really pain in the ass to release that as an experimental feature, because other frameworks had to already have them, like had to have something to work with to be able to use that. So that's actually a step towards making it easier for everyone. So if you want to experiment with some feature, you can just pin your version to this Canary version and just use it.
I don't know if you saw, but it seems like React is becoming like it was always a library, but it is becoming a library which is mostly used when you're using some framework. And that means if there will be something experimental, then probably you're using experimental or Canary version of React. Yeah,
I think React is becoming the library.
The library, yeah.
Okay, I will go smoothly again from React to React Native, and React Native is something that I do on a daily basis. And I don't know if you know, but it exists something that's called React Native macOS. And React Native macOS is not just an Electron wrapper around web React in order to make it runnable on macOS. It's actually native implementation of React Native for macOS. And it is maintained by Microsoft, surprisingly. And they actually usually were few steps behind official releases of React Native. So when React Native was 0.70, they were 0.77. React Native was 0.70 and React Native macOS was 0.67. So 3 versions behind.
Oh.
Right now, they are proudly announcing that they're actually going to catch up with regular React Native. They are actually dropping releases for 2 versions, for 0.69 and 0.70, in order to be the same number as official React Native. And in order to do that, they had a lot of help, they say on the blog post, from Meta team actually. So Microsoft and Meta are collaborating on React Native, and they're collaborating on React Native macOS. And the reason of that is the Messenger from Facebook is actually React Native macOS app. It's not it's not an Electron wrapper. It's like really React Native macOS app. So Meta engineers actually contributed a lot to this release, so that's good. I'm really happy from my job security, because like two different huge companies actually back up my React Native best framework.
I can tell you that I already love that. Like, I love that React Native macOS actually became a thing. Because I remember that Microsoft had before what they called Fluent UI. That was mostly for UI part, and that's where they said, hey, for creating native applications, we'll do something. And that will be probably called Fluent Framework. But then React Native came in, and they loved it already. And I don't know if you know, but Microsoft's application mostly are React Native applications, those for mobile, which means they wanted to have something for macOS, because they do have a bit applications like Office, for example. So probably that's why they want to create it to have React Native macOS to build it.
Actually, like Microsoft uses React Native a lot in their products, and not only as standalone apps, but as part of huge monorepo. They have some widgets that are used across their apps, right? So if you have just one functionality, you can write it in React Native, and just it gets populated to all of those different like Office products or something like that. I actually interviewed Lorenzo from Microsoft, from React Native team some time ago. And like Microsoft pushes into React Native real big. So yeah, that's the... Oh, okay. One last notable mention here is that there are experimenting with new architecture of React Native in React Native macOS as well. So it is experimental, and you can enable it already.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, let's pop into the latest probably news. I don't know if you know the library called Inquirer. I don't know if you ever actually created this.
No,
CLI.
I don't know what it is.
Okay, so like right now, you can build CLI with different language. You can build it on Go. You can build it with Rust. You can build it with whatever language you want it to have. We are JS developers. We want to build a JS app, and we want to use JS to build CLI. So there is something called Yards, but also there is a new thing called Inquirer. Actually, Inquirer before was mostly for making interactions in CLI, and that's what they actually wanted to become, and they became one of things. But right now, they changed a lot of things in terms of a core, which means there's a new version of Inquirer. Like, let's do it that part. And the new version of Inquirer means there was a rewrite, big rewrite, and it means it reduced the package sizes, and of course, if there is smaller package size, the load time is faster. Even if it's CLI, you want it to be just that, just pop it in.
Oh yeah, I hate, like, I understand when the website is loading slowly. I get that. I'm used to that. But when my console hangs out on something, like when I cd to folder and I type in command and that command hangs, I hate that. Like, this is not a great user experience at all.
Yeah. So yeah, like right now you can just pop it in. Then there is new API for creating custom prompts, and you can test them. And of course, new Inquirer, embrace TypeScript. And that's mostly the case. One important info: new Inquirer is not backwards compatible. So if someone used Inquirer before, if they update, they lose everything. So to make that happen, Inquirer developers are actually one of them. He created a monorepo for that, and Inquirer, the old Inquirer, is still called Inquirer, but the newer one is just Inquirer prompts. Okay. And that's the idea, which is simpler. So yeah, I love it. I used Inquirer before. I love that it is smaller. Probably it will get better. And I love that there is TypeScript there, because for CLI, TypeScript is needed. Like, without TypeScript, creating any CLI command without any schema will be hard.
Yeah.
Okay, Łukasz, let's talk about the last news.
Yeah, let's talk about something that we don't know anything about. Yeah. I have never used Angular in my life, but I have still researched it, and I have some bullet points to tell you about. But for the rest of it, you should definitely go to the show notes, check out the links in the show notes, because they say that apparently this is the biggest release since the inception of Angular. I don't know about that. I've heard that in the beginning there was Angular, and then it was Angular JS, and it was two different Angulars. Yeah. Something like that. So the thing that I understand from this release of Angular is that they introduced signals. And signals are really easy for me to grasp because I used MobX before. And signals are like observables in MobX. So you have a signal that can hold a value, and it can notify other observers of that value changes. So that signal. Then you have computed, which is just a signal that's computed from another signal. And you have an effect which fires up, a function that fires up upon some signal or some computed changed. And apparently this is a big deal in Angular, and it is interoperable with RxJS.
Okay, makes sense.
Apart from that, something that I don't know how to explain, so I'm just gonna go through bullet points that I have. They have some improvements for hydration. It's called full up non-destructive hydration, and actually they say that Angular no longer re-renders the application from scratch. Instead, the framework looks up existing DOM nodes while building internal data structures and attaches event listener to those nodes. Don't know what's going on,
okay,
but it speeds up the largest contentful paint 45%.
Okay. Like, I think I understand what they're talking about, but still, yeah, it is harder to to explain it if you don't use Angular. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds similar to what we've discussed in the beginning of the episode from Qwik 1.0, like hydration versus resin mobility. This is, I think, a similar concept somehow. It saves you time. And they have a lot of DevX improvements. So if you care about Angular, if you're one of those people who care about Angular, go to the show notes and check out what they have to say in their release notes for Angular 16.
Cool. I think that's the news for today's episode. Thank you, Łukasz, very much for being with us today.
Thanks, Piotrek, for having me. Thanks for making this DevSpresso podcast possible.
Yeah, thank you very much. Guys, remember subscriptions, like bell if you want to get a notification. And for those who are just listening in their podcast apps, just subscribe us. Tell to your parents, tell to your girlfriends, boyfriends, grandmothers, etc. To your dog even that hey, DevSpresso is out and we're back. So thank you very much. And I think it's time for the outro.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for staying till the end. This is obviously outro message with all the links and information that could help you to support us or just contact us. And we greatly appreciate both. This channel is not supported by any big company or organization, so any donation is really gonna make a big difference and will allow us to expand and provide more content like that for you. You can contact us on social media like TikTok or Instagram for now. Also, we have special email address if you'd like to reach out to us or just give us feedback. We really appreciate that and we're looking forward to hearing from you. And if you really think that we've earned it, you can buy us a coffee. Link is here. So thank you again. All the links are down in the description and see you next week. Don't forget to like and subscribe.